So, my favorite show to watch is Fleabag. And there's a dialogue in Fleabag which goes, hair is everything, which I kind of agree. And I know that a lot of us face problems of thinning hair, of hair fall, of trying to figure out, what's wrong with my hair and how do I keep it on my head and not lose it to the stress of my daily life. Uh, we also face a lot of problems of buying products that make false claims about making our hair grow back, or making it stronger, or making it shinier, or making it smoother. Saloni Anand, who is the co founder of Traya, is here today to talk to me about these false claims, about the true claims, about what hair can and cannot do, and what our expectations should be. Can we grow hair again after it has fallen out of your head? That's what this conversation is about, and that's what this collaboration is about. If your hair's falling, then it doesn't matter what shampoo you use.
Absolutely. Shampoo is about shine, texture, fragrance, how you feel when you wash your hair and come out. Does it feel softer? That's about it. It's a cleansing agent. It's supposed to clean your hair and scalp. That's all. The only external thing that can lead to hair fall is your scalp, whether it's dandruff or a fungal infection. Other than that, 99% of what causes hair fall is inside the body. Thousands of brands and products selling you hair fall, but none of them grow your hair. And it is possible to grow your hair. We did it. When I go to a research agency and I tell them I want to do a study, they said, okay, lao shampoo, kaise type ka claim chahiye batao? What do you want? You want a percentage reduction? We'll design the study in a way that you get your claim, right? That's how the industry, especially the cosmetic world, works. We did an internal study before starting Traya, and we found in India, not just cities, only 2 in 100 people actually go to a doctor for their hair. I have had places in this journey where my co founder would be asked the relevant questions, and I would be asked, how are you feeling? And I would be like, oh, you know, why was I not asked the most relevant questions to the business?
Saloni, thank you so much for speaking with me. It's fascinating. I've been reading through the work that you're doing, and it's really interesting. But I want to understand from you why you started your company, Traya. What's different about it? Because hair care is massive. We have different kinds of companies right now, from everything from the shampoo to what is sold to you in a salon to the treatments that are available from these various organizations, right? So, how is yours different? Why did you start your company?
Well, we started because my husband went through a series of health issues, including hypothyroidism, a lot of hair loss. He has genetic hair loss, male pattern hair loss, and was doing everything available to him, going to the best dermats, PRP, minoxidil, all of it. But we went through a health journey or sort of transformational journey in our personal life, chasing his hypothyroidism
Okay.
where we combined Ayurveda to allopathy and nutrition. And when I say nutrition, it's not just eating healthy, but using food as a medicine to reverse his thyroid. And that journey made us realize how powerful alternative sciences are when combined with Western science.
Okay.
In those 6 months of working on his thyroid, he regrew his hair. We had no idea that a few years later we would start a company on hair, but that was a first realization that the market has thousands of brands and products selling you hair fall, but none of them grow your hair. And it is possible to grow your hair. We did it. And with that sort of mission, we started our research, and one thing led to another. And eventually, we started a brand ourselves to grow hair, and hence the vision was very clear that we exist to not sell shampoos or not be the largest hair care company. In fact, we don't even like to call ourselves hair care. We are hair treatment. We are not care. Hair fall cannot be hair care.
Okay.
Hair fall is not a cosmetic problem, it's a health issue, and the industry has made it a cosmetic problem. That's the foundation of the problem. And I think to answer the second part of your question, that how is Traya different, that's how Traya is different. The objective of Traya is to solve your hair fall problem, whether it's hair loss, hair regrowth, or reduction in hair fall. What is it that you are trying to solve? And for that, whatever it takes, the right set of products, the mixing of three sciences, giving you a diet plan, giving you an honest timeline that it's not going to be 10 days, 20 days, it's going to take 5 months, giving you the right set of doctors, and working closely with you towards that journey, not just to sell a shampoo and conditioner and say goodbye, you are on your own, but working closely to get you to the finish line. Um, Traya as a model is born out of that one metric that we've chased, which is hair regrowth, the success rate.
You said hair fall is, you know, is a symptom to a larger, but it's a health problem. It's not a
Absolutely.
cosmetic problem. Explain that to me.
A lot of people think that hair fall is external because we see it.
Yeah.
But if you really try to ask question to why is it happening and where is it coming from, even in allopathy, hair fall has types. There's male pattern hair loss, there's telogen effluvium, there are types of hair loss. It needs a diagnosis.
Okay.
When you go to a doctor, the doctor tries to understand which type you have by talking to you, by getting clinical history, and the treatment varies. So, one magic shampoo that's being sold to you with 99% hair fall reduction for all cannot function fundamentally because there are types and there's a diagnosis and the treatment has to be different. Even if you look at Ayurveda, it's clearly written in the scriptures that hair loss is a way of communicating. The body communicates to you that something inside is wrong. And it's even more elaborate there. It's your digestion, your metabolism, your nutrition, your hormones, your stress levels, your sleep cycles. All of it impacts your hair. The only external thing that can lead to hair fall is your scalp, whether it's dandruff or a fungal infection. Other than that, 99% of what causes hair fall is inside the body. And most common type of hair fall, which is genetic hair fall, male pattern hair loss, is actually chronic in nature, which means it's a lot like diabetes.
Okay.
You're born with it, you're going to have it till the last day of life. It cannot be cured.
So you're constantly just managing / fighting it.
Manage it.
Yeah.
And you will have to manage till the last day of your life.
I mean, I found it interesting that you said there's Ayurveda and you're combining it with Western medicine. How does that work?
So, allopathy has 2 to 3 molecules since the 80s that are clinically proven, efficacious, FDA approved to help you with your hair fall. Most of them work around either blocking DHT or stimulate. I'm sorry, I'm getting into the science, but they work on hair follicles directly to help you regrow your hair, or sort of to combat what your body is doing to your hair, right? To reverse it. Ayurveda, on the other hand, has an approach to treating hair loss that starts from fixing digestion.
Right.
It's very, very internal led approach, and hence when the two approaches are combined, honestly, magic happens because Ayurveda really puts your body into a regenerative state. It works towards bringing the nutrition right, improving the blood circulation, bringing your hormones in balance through multiple things. And when that's happening along with the allopathy working on your follicles, magic happens. And hence, it fundamentally, theoretically made a lot of sense to combine and bring holisticness into a complicated issue like hair loss that has like multiple factors here. Practically, we had to use doctors, researchers, a team of people, and it was a task to bring people from allopathy and Ayurveda to talk to each other. But it was a fantastic experience to make that work and to really then create evidence or not. Allopathy has evidence. The problem with Ayurveda is that there's no enough evidence-based studies done. So it was our duty to sort of do this evidence-based studies on this approach and then show data to really show that the holistic approach is way better than using one
So
stance.
this is interesting for me because the conversation that we keep having with doctors, with pharmacy, with people working in the pharmaceutical sector is that whether we want to call it allopathic or Western medicine, there are very strict guidelines of clinical trials of how you test something, what you compare it to, what your closed sample set, controlled set is, what are the variables within that set, right? How have you is that the kind of trial that you have done for your product? What is the kind of trial you've done?
So when we started this brand, honestly, we started with a very small data set of 55 people. That was the first cohort of people who used our formulations. It was data of 55 people only, where we saw 35 of them with phenomenal regrowth results. And this was even before Thraya was started. It was during our research phase. When we started the brand, we started seeing consumer data. And so there was personal belief that, hey, this approach is working and what formulations are working, what are not. We used a very data led approach. We reached a phase where we could afford a consumer trial. Consumer trials are way cheaper than clinical trials. It was when we got a seed funding, the first thing we did was launched a consumer trial. And we wanted to do a high quality consumer trial. So we didn't ask 30 people, how did they feel with Thraya. We did with a 300 set, which is considered way above statistical significance. And we found that 93% of people who used Thraya more than 5 months saw regrowth. And this was an interesting consumer trial because it was not just consumer perception of results, but we were looking at photographs month on month. And that can only be done here at Thraya because we are a digital company where people upload their scalp pictures every month. So we had a third party auditor who looked at pictures of consumers to market regrowth seen or not seen. Eventually, we grew to have enough money to launch a clinical trial, which is a high grade pharma clinical trial. And we've done a one of a kind clinical trial where we created a group of 135 people. Generally, clinical trials are done on 30. 30 is the regulation. Like
Yeah.
anything above 30 is considered like a good statistical significance. But we took 135 people, and this was done by an independent clinical research organization, so Thraya was not involved. It was a double-blinded study, which means the people involved, the humans involved in the study and the researcher didn't know which bottle has what.
Okay.
We had no idea what was happening for 2 years. Once we handed over the money and the brief of what is the objective, it was on them to sort of do the study. Few things that we did to make it a very high quality study. Number one, sample size. Number two, the sample size was taken not from people with mild hair fall or, who already have a good set of hair. We took people who are stage 2, 3, 4, which is men with genetic hair loss with a bald area.
So wait, hang on. You're actually telling me that with diet and a particular type of shampoo and a particular type of medication that you give, you will reverse genetic male pattern balding?
Absolutely. Can I do it for everyone? No. I'll come to that a little later.
Yeah.
But absolutely.
You should call up the future king of England because because there's this idea that that male pattern balding, which is genetic, which is handed over
I know.
from grandfather to father to son, cannot be. I mean, you can battle it and you can do a hair transplant, but
I'm not talking about transplant.
you're not talking about transplant. You're not talking about PRP or derma roller comb.
Not even that.
So what is the application of your medication?
Shampoo is the least important. The only reason there's a shampoo in a Thraya box is because the consumer wants it. It has nothing to do with efficacy,
Okay.
right? So
If your hair's falling, then it doesn't matter what shampoo you use.
absolutely.
Okay.
Shampoo is about shine, texture, fragrance, how you feel when you wash your hair and come out. Does it feel softer? That's about it. It's a cleansing agent. It's supposed to clean your hair and scalp. That's all.
Okay.
But Thraya has, on an average, a serum. Now, whether that serum, what molecule in the serum is based on the type of hair fall, etc. That's mostly allopathy. It has something which is to do with handling your nutritional deficiency. So either a multivitamin or a hair vitamin, or if we find for women, and it's very common to have anemia or low hemoglobin, so an iron supplement. So something that's to do with solving for nutrition in the body. And then there are certain Ayurvedic things which are there to manage your underlying root causes. So Thraya has about 25, 30 SKUs. 6 of them are
What
direct,
is an SKU?
like a unit, like a product.
Okay.
So 5 or 6 of them are directly or indirectly related to the gut. That's how important gut is for your skin and hair. So we have something for constipation, something for absorption in gut, something for improving your metabolism, something for helping you with certain hormonal issues that could be going on in the body. In the women hair fall space, we have something for PCOS related hair fall, postpartum hair fall, menopause related hair fall.
So I find it very interesting that you're doing this clinical trial because also the Ayurvedic space is full of false claims. I mean, let's be honest.
I-
Patanjali. It's like the biggest one in the country right now. And ASCI, which is the Advertising Standards Council of India, has constantly pulled up Patanjali for making false claims about its Ayurvedic products. The problem, while the Ayurvedic science itself might be very wholesome, the location of manufacturing a lot of these powders, what is in the powder, whether or not it has been tested, whether or not the claims they're making are actually, valid. These are huge problems in that space. And how are you existing, in that universe then?
Yeah, I think for us, the problem came in even before we started, reaching consumers and putting in claims. The moment we put a dermatologist and Ayurveda doctor on the table, the domat said, hey, I don't understand this piece. And the only way I'm going to prescribe my patient something like this is when you show me evidence. A doctor, when prescribes a certain medicine, is because a pharma company comes with evidence and research and shows them that this is the data. And then the doctor realizes, okay, this is good, this is bad, this is how I want to prescribe my patient. So doctors are open to Ayurveda provided there is evidence.
Hmm.
And hence it felt like we had to go out and prove that, this whole belief system of mixing three sciences and bringing holisticness is actually bringing in a delta which is enough or more than using just allopathy. So going back to the clinical trial, we made 3 groups. One group got placebo, one group got minoxidil 5%, which is considered a gold standard when it comes to baldness, the case that we were dealing with here, and the third got the customized Traya kit, which had everything, allopathy, Ayurveda, everything. We made sure that this was double blinded, independently done, good sample size. Also, the duration was 6 months plus because it takes 6 months plus to actually see regrowth. Most important part of the study was the measurement technique. The measurement technique was not hair fall reduction or perception. The measurement technique was a trico scan, which measures the number of hair you have on a square inch on your head. And so it was the strictest standard in the sense that we wanted to see, can there be new hair regrowth happening in that square inch when people go through these 6 months of treatment. And the results showed that the regime gives 3x better hair density in that square inch compared to minoxidil 5%, which is huge because I don't think there's anybody in the world who has done a study like this. Minoxidil 5% is one molecule that's prescribed by doctors across the world.
Yes.
We use it here at Traya as well. But
Yes.
what we're saying is that when minoxidil is combined with gut and stress and Ayurveda and all of this piece that we're doing with holistic science, gives 3x better results than just using minoxidil, which proves our core
But
belief.
the trial is not for any one piece of your kit. It's for the whole kit together.
Absolutely. And it's the customization that leads to the efficacy, which means there's no Traya product that I can say here and say, everybody use this. You will buy a random product of Traya, you will not probably see hair regrowth. Each individual in that study had a different kit.
Yeah.
And it's the customization that's critical to making Ayurveda work.
What is the most common hair problem that people come to you with, that come to Traya with?
I think hair fall and hair loss is the largest portion.
So balding and thinning. Basically.
Balding and hair thinning.
Yeah.
And if you look at the entire hair care industry, which is different in my world, with its shampoos, oils, serums, most of them, the promise that they put on the label is hair fall.
Yes.
The reason is because that's the biggest
Reduce
factor.
hair fall, yeah.
Exactly.
So tell me something. So you are telling me now that the claims that are being made by shampoos across the board effectively are false.
Absolutely. So while you were blaming Patanjali, so it's one thing.
I was blaming Patanjali. ASCI was
blaming Sandash. I'm so sorry. But while I mentioned Patanjali in my head, I was like the entire industry, right?
Yeah.
Because they are legally right. So ASCII would be fine with them, but are they ethically right? And I'll explain.
There's a lot to unpack there because so we can actually categorize shampoos into, oh, this actually smells nice, but nobody buys a product because it smells nice anymore. So it's either dandruff, or it'll help thicken your hair, it will help smoothen and shine your hair, and it will stop hair fall. So you're saying a shampoo can only do smoothing and shining, and it
Absolutely.
cannot do anything else.
To some level, dandruff, especially mild dandruff, where you don't need a very, very effective molecule. In the cosmetic world, there are certain molecules that can wash off your dandruff. And there's word play everywhere. हम dandruff धो देंगे. हमने ये नहीं कहा हम dandruff ठीक कर देंगे.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, going to hair fall shampoos, right?
Yeah.
When a shampoo says 99% reduction in hair fall, let's say that's the claim, there'll be a star mark there. Try to turn around, and in the tiniest of fonts, you'll see what that star means. The star will say hair fall due to breakage. What it
What
basically
does that mean?
means is that when we say hair fall, we don't mean hair fall, we mean hair breakage.
Hmm.
So how they do studies is they take their shampoo, and against that they take a shampoo which is called in research world non-conditioning agent. Think of it as detergent.
Huh.
Okay, they take few women and they make them wash their hair with the good shampoo, their own shampoo, and the detergent. And they take a white paper and they do something called the combing test, which means they make them comb their hair post shampoo. Now, the hair that breaks on the paper is counted
It's hair.
and measured as hair fall reduction. Now, if you use a detergent and wash your hair, it's going to get entangled, and when you comb it, there's going to be more breakage. But when you use a shampoo, which is beautiful conditioning, softening agents, it's going to break less of hair. And hence, some of these claims will say reduce hair fall in 4 washes. Anatomically, our body is not designed to change hair cycle in 4 washes. Hair, the body works in a certain cycle, and it has to go through few months to show a visible change in your hair fall. And hence, when they say hair fall, they don't mean hair fall, they mean hair breakage. Now, this has been done for years across brands, from the giants to the newbies, and it's normalized. Right? When I go to a research agency and I tell them I want to do a study, they said, okay, lao shampoo, kaise type ka claim chahiye, batao. What do you want? You want a percentage reduction? We'll design the study in a way that you get your claim. Right? That's how the industry, especially the cosmetic world, works. I have huge respect for the pharma world, spending these many years in this space. There is some intent of efficacy there. There is some intent of doing trials there. But the cosmetic world, the intent is always how to sell, how to market. What will I put on my label that will make it sell?
So you were effectively telling us that anything that the shampoos are claiming in their advertisements or on the side of the bottle, we need to, at least to begin with, look at with circumspect as to why they're claiming this, because it's not within the shampoo's power to deliver the things that are being claimed.
Absolutely.
So, you're now entering, or you've already entered, but you're basically taking on an entire industry.
Absolutely. That's why I started this brand, because when I understood the science, when I understood the industry, I realized that it's not like hair regrowth is not possible. It's just that people are wasting their time, money on things that don't work. We did an internal study before starting Traya, and we found in India, not just cities, only 2 in 100 people actually go to a doctor for their hair loss. Time is wasted on shampoos, oils, and serums. And that is what sells in this country. We were told by our investors that please stop doing what you're doing in the early days. Sell shampoos, because that's what
Because that's
will
what
buy.
makes money. Yeah.
That's what makes money. Go sell on marketplaces. Develop 50 ranges of shampoos. That's what it's going to sell. So I think I have a problem in the way the industry has shaped the mindset. So when you said, I saw that surprise on your look, that hair regrowth, is it even possible? Are you saying it's going to reverse? Where does that idea come from? That idea comes from trying multiple things and failing at them again and again to eventually accept that, hey, this problem cannot be reversed.
So, when and I want to come back to that, to the label reading, because I think it's very interesting. So, when we read the label and it's making a claim that you say we should question, um, a lot of times we don't have access to the details of that study that is making that claim, right? As a customer who's bought a bottle of shampoo, they're not going to give me like all of those details. So then, how do we question that claim?
Very good point. And I think there's a problem of regulations there. So, in the cosmetic world, there is no regulation to publish studies.
Mm.
Versus in pharma world, if you are a pharma and you put a claim and there's a star mark as per done a study done in 2020,
Mm.
you have to publish that study.
Somewhere on the internet, that study will exist where I can read it.
There is a website, government website called CTRI, where a brand should publish studies. So to begin with, go with brands that create transparency. Where they just don't put a claim, they say where this is coming from. They publish their studies, and there are certain brands. When I say I'm against the industry, I'm not, doesn't mean everyone, right? There are brands who put a star mark and then put details of what the study is. They say that, hey,
Can
this
I ask you which ones?
I wouldn't name the ones that are not and names the one that are doing, but I can say for myself, right? As a brand, I made sure that I'm publishing the study. Trial's clinical trial that I just mentioned is there on CTRI. We have submitted it to multiple journals across the world where it will get published, right? It's already on India's CTRI. So I think to begin with, start questioning when you see it. Don't blindly believe it. And the other thing is the visuals, right? They put a girl with long, ghane, kale, lambe baal,
Yeah.
right?
CGI generated.
Don't get influenced.
Mm.
Ask yourself, why am I going through hair fall? What is it that is causing my hair fall? Does this bottle and this shampoo or this oil has the capability to solve that? If you know your hair fall is due to your anemia, you rather change your diet or take supplements or go for something that can fix it rather than spending money on a fancy bottle.
So I do want to ask you this, that I'm fascinated by the claim that you can reverse male pattern balding, postpartum balding, or thinning of
Hair
hair.
loss.
So if we look at male pattern balding, what sort of food changes can stall that or reduce that or cause or result in hair growth?
So, both food and Ayurveda works best when it's customized, even way more customized than allopathy.
Okay.
However, I'll say few things that function well for most cases. Um, when it comes to male pattern hair loss, there is pitta dosha in the body. Again, getting into science, but there's something in the body that's imbalanced.
Yes.
Now, if you are trying to understand why pitta dosha imbalances happen, mostly it's because of packaged food, processed food, um, giving things to your gut that's difficult to digest. So, the first thing we do when we see cases like this at Traya, where we have to do regrowth, we tell them that for few months, would it be possible to leave gluten? Would it be possible to leave milk? These are things that are difficult to digest. And for Indians, it almost feels like, how can you say that I should not have milk
Yeah.
or gluten?
So basically, you're saying no parathas, no paneer.
Yeah, like how do we imagine, right, saying that to a North Indian? So, and then we say that, hey, this is not for life, but give some break to your gut and see what happens. And we mostly, and sometimes we're speaking to people who don't even understand what's gluten free, right? And people come back and 3 months later say, I feel lighter. I've never felt so energetic. While my hair is growing, I also feel so many different other benefits while I'm on Traya's diet. If I was excessive, I had excessive weight, I wasn't dieting, I was just doing these changes and I saw that I lost weight as well. So it's not it's not healthy khalo, don't eat fried, eat less oil. I hate that kind of advice. I think the worst advice we can give to people is eat healthy. There's a, it's like a bubble that you don't want to sort of get into. But the idea here is to give them a very actionable healing diet, which literally has sometimes a list of vegetables that are good for you. Because let's say if we get somebody who has thyroid and has hair loss, the entire gourd family of vegetables, the white pumpkin, the pumpkins, the bottle gourds of the world are fabulous in Ayurveda to bring balance in your doshas that would not just help you manage your thyroid, but slow down your hair loss process drastically.
Mhm.
So it's that customized when it comes to diet.
So if I were to ask you this, how much of the quality of my hair is genetic? How much of it is the care? How much of it is the environment? So a lot of times it could be the kind of water that we have in a particular city. So people who live in Bangalore and Hyderabad will say, "Boss, this is not our fault, right? Because the water is really hard." How much of it is lifestyle, food, smoking, alcohol, all of these things?
I wish I could quantify these things, but I would say let's start with genetics, right? Because, you know, that's the foundation of these three things. If you don't have a genetic disposition, if you're genetically blessed, you do whatever you want in your lifestyle, you use Bangalore water and you'll have a full set of hair you'll always, the other one always feels like, this guy
Yes.
doesn't sleep, smokes, and he has a full set and I don't, and I'm trying to be so healthy and still I don't. So I think this genetically blessed folks that I want to sort of take out of this equation. Let's just talk about a equation or a funnel of people who have a genetic disposition of hair loss.
Hmm.
Now, among people who have genetic disposition of hair loss is there in the body. Hair loss will happen as you age. The question is, my grandfather saw hair loss when he was 70. My father saw it when he was 50. I am seeing it when I'm 22 in college. So I would put a larger portion of contribution to hair loss to not genetics, but lifestyle, food, and what you do with your body while you are genetically disposed to hair loss. So your gut, your metabolism, your stress, your hormones, your screen time, your sleep cycle,
Yeah.
all of it is the largest contributor, or rather defining factor to the speed or acceleration of your hair loss, which means that I could have two individuals both having genetic hair loss and a completely different journey and hairline. One balds at 80 and the other balds at 30, which creates the entire difference in life, right? And this can be changed just by this
Yeah.
lifestyle piece.
So it's so funny that we're talking about this because until 3 years ago, I was one of these genetically blessed people, right? So put my hair through all kinds of things and nothing would happen. I'd wake up with perfectly straight and styled hair, and that's how it looked all the time. And then I had a baby at 40, and a combination of like age and postpartum um and it was almost like that thing in Game of Thrones, right? Where you want something, so you have to give up something that's really important to you. So I had to literally, it felt like I gave up my hair because after the baby, the hair just did not come back. And that's the second thing that I wanted to ask you about. So for men, it tends to be genetic. For women, it tends to be hormonal and
Absolutely.
lifestyle, life stage linked,
Absolutely.
right? And is the solution for that also Ayurveda and food related? And
Absolutely. In fact, postpartum telogen effluvium, the hair fall is 100% recoverable if treated
okay.
because your follicles are not dying.
Hmm.
So there's no hair, or there's lesser hair and there's hair thinning, but there's underneath your scalp there's an active follicle,
Hmm.
which if treated can regenerate your hair, right? It's just that hormonal ride of what you went through was so difficult on your body that your hair said, I don't want to stay on this too much injustice. Yeah. So literally they go on a strike, and
Yeah.
and they most hair enter a phase called telogen. That's why it's called postpartum telogen effluvium. Telogen is a phase where the hair detaches from the follicle and decides to leave the body because it's too
It's
difficult.
traumatic.
Yeah, too traumatic.
I get that. No, but there's also, I mean, the interesting part about that journey for me is that the number of people who say shikakai and then boil an onion and then put methi and put dahi. And I'm from the south, so coconut oil is like all encompassing. So do any of these things work in any capacity?
The only place where it could work is probably if your root reason is a scalp condition. right? But something like postpartum, and I feel Ayurveda has been very, very misunderstood, right? And if you look at Ayurveda at Traya, it's mostly edibles.
Okay.
It's less application. There's oiling, it's a therapy, and it's part of the regime. But can oiling alone do the magic? The answer is no. The nourishment needs of your body have changed when you've entered postpartum. Your body is going through recovery of something huge that it has done. It has been depleted of nutrients. This is the time where you need supplements, you need herbs, you need all the support that you can give to your body more than you have done. And what happens in reality, we eat our supplements when we are pregnant. We're very careful. We stop eating when
Yeah.
we have a baby. We're too busy in life too. So we do the opposite actually. So it's whatever you said, from shikakai to methi to whatever, is application. It's nothing inside. And going back to where I started, fundamentally the problem with this space, right, that people think it's something external and it's not.
What is the biggest myth, in your opinion, about hair care, hair regrowth, hair treatment?
I would say two rather than one. One being thinking that hair loss cannot be reversed,
Hmm.
right? Which
Yeah,
is
that's a good
something
one.
that I know you believe in, because it can be. It's
Okay.
just that probably you've not been doing the right things at the right time. The second myth, I think, relying on external products. It's an internal problem and needs more.
If we come back to the fact that a lot of the misconceptions that we've talked about so far is because it's an industry that has been feeding the customer false information for so long. We have an ASCII, we have, regulations, but obviously they're falling short. What regulations do we really need?
First, in the cosmetic world, there are very few regulations if you compare to the pharma world, right?
Which we're now discovering also, like food, food labeling regulations are off completely. We're not doing enough as a country to protect ourselves.
Yeah. There's a long list to begin with. Make brands accountable to publish their studies. Make brands accountable to not do wordplay, right? When they say hair fall, they should mean hair fall. It cannot be hair breakage. When they write the word hair growth, legally they are right, because there's no regulation what hair growth means. Hair growth in the research word means length of hair. So you do a study on measuring length of hair is supposed to grow.
It will grow
It will
irrespective,
grow.
right?
So where I can put a study on 90% hair growth. What is the consumer perceiving? Hair regrowth. They are expecting their hair to look, the volume to grow. The study was done on length, right? So creating regulations on sample size, duration of studies, uh, fundamental protocol design of the studies that put these claims. A large portion of consumer brands don't even do their own studies. They just borrow studies. What it means is, let's say, when I first tried manufacturing a shampoo at Traya, I went to a active ingredient company, which is there are ingredients that are available and you buy and you give it to your manufacturer. I got a menu card. These are our active ingredients. These are the claims that you can put on your bottle if you put this active ingredient in the bottle. So, what are brands doing? They are not putting ingredients to give efficacy. They are putting ingredients based on what they want to stick on their bottle, right? And let's say I pick an active ingredient and put in my bottle. There are no regulations to concentration, manufacturing process, nothing. I just put 0.001% of some ingredient and I get to print a claim on the bottle and I'm ready to go live. So I think there's a long way there to go as a country, and I'm hoping the norm changes.
I read also that apparently, according to the Advertising Standards Council, they've just said that the digital ads and the influencer sort of linked work that's happening, 50% of it is not following regulations right now, which means that obviously you have what's happening on the label, what's happening in the print ads or the television ads that were already a problem, but apparently what's happening on digital right now is much worse. Is that your experience as well?
I think that's right, but it's amazing that ASCII exists.
Yeah.
In a country where there's very few regulations in the cosmetic world, at least there is an ASCII that's creating some friction here. The problem with that is that ASCII is more like a guideline, right? Which means Um, ASCII can tell me don't say X or Y in your advertising, but the repercussions might not lead to, you know, where a brand is scared enough to not do it.
I do want to talk to you on a completely different note about being a woman entrepreneur. Because I know from personal experience, what a challenge that could be. And I'm wondering, when you decided to start off and you're not a dermatologist, right? Was that a massive hurdle? People were like, why are you doing this?
Absolutely.
Stay in your lane, right? Because women get told to stay in your lane a lot. कि आप तो expert नहीं हो इसमें आप क्यों कर रहे हो?
Absolutely.
What was that like?
Absolutely. I think to begin with, it was more in my head as well.
Mm.
Like I felt that I'm being questioned and doubted. And the moment I took it out from my head, I stopped caring about it. I felt I have the best team of domats in this country working here. I have the best team of Ayurveda doctors, best team of researchers, and the fortunate experience to spend these many years in this industry with this group to get all the perspectives, right? How pharma thinks, how domats think, how Ayurveda thinks, how researchers, how formulators actually formulate, working with clinical research organization and really understanding and getting the overall picture. I have the right to go out and share what I learned. I'm not saying I know it all. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm saying that I got to know something which was fascinating and surprising to me enough to go out and share with
Yeah.
others.
No, you said you took it out of your head.
Yeah.
So for the benefit of everybody else who's still trying to take it out of their
You
head,
got it.
how did you do that? How do you stop like saying, oh God, why are these people questioning me?
I think I think a bit of introspection on and clarity on why you are here and what you are doing and why you are doing it. There comes a point where you just don't care, and if something when something like this happens, you laugh off and you move on. It
Mm.
stops bothering you, and honestly, if something stops bothering you, it stops damaging you, it stops affecting you. And um, I have had places in this journey where I have been made, um, you know, where my co-founder would be asked the relevant questions, and I would be asked, "How are you feeling? How is everything good?" And I would be like, "Oh, you know, why was I not asked the most relevant questions to the business?"
Mm.
Right? And multiple such examples. But um, I think I made my community of people who are my cheerleaders.
Mm.
My team, my co-founder, my investors, they believe in me. So I've been fortunate to make my group of people where I borrow confidence,
Yeah.
support from, and then rest of the world. I either laugh off or I take inspiration that I'll show this person. Sure.
Yeah. I know that one.
Yeah. I'll get there. One day I'll get there to prove what I mean and what I'm saying is right. Right. So I think as far as you take positive, healthy competition or strength out of it,
Do you believe that there's enough funding available for Indian startups who want to do good work?
I think there's an improvement in the funding ecosystem, let's say 5 years, 10 years back to now, but it's extremely skewed to what works.
Trends.
Trends. Right? And I hate trends. I come from a hair industry. I hate trends. Uh, and I hate trends even in the investment world. I think there's a trend of AI, there'll be like fundings in AI, then there'll be trend of whatever, 10-minute deliveries, there'll be fundings in 10-minute deliveries. When we first went out to raise money, nobody understood what we're doing. They said, hey, the trend is to sell shampoos on Nykas and Amazons of the world. And
Mm.
that's when we started, right? Sell shampoos. What are you doing? I said, we are going to go and grow hair, like rubbish. Right? And you're going to tell people to eat tablets?
Like, one person told me, कुछ generative AI में करोगे तो फिर बात बन जाएगी.
I have been told what to build. I
Yeah.
remember this one meeting when I walked out of the investor meeting. The investor said no and then told me, you are great founders. Why don't you build Ayurveda for millennials? I said, I know what I'm.
Yeah.
So I think there are trends and there's what they want to invest. I think there's a huge story bias that some of them hold. And I'm pleased, some of them, right? Like there's a large portion. We're blessed to have the investors that we have, and we couldn't have done what we've done without them. But there's a story bias, a trend bias to what's working, and they want to do more of that. And I think there are very few who gamble on people who are
Yeah.
trying to do something which is unheard of or truly innovative.
I find that a lot of times the money is chasing, like you said, a story, or is chasing a trend, or it's chasing a projection. Where basically, if you give me a business idea that I can plug into this projection and say, oh, all e-commerce is doing this, and so if I get another e-commerce play, then I know what I know what that projection is going to look like. So, okay, now it's much easier for me to gauge that investment. So, as soon as you come with a business that doesn't plug in,
Absolutely.
and then it becomes difficult to imagine how this, 10 is going to become 1 billion.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you the core to that problem. That on the investment side, there are people who are finance folks, right? So all they know is modeling, right? They have a model, they have a playbook. If they can't fit you, they don't know how to
They don't know how to,
model
yeah,
you. And they are not
can't
wrong.
imagine.
They don't know how to predict,
Yeah.
right? But then there are few who are there to just fund passion or fund innovation and
Explain to me the AI factor of your business, right? Because you did say that when someone comes to you online via your website with a problem, you feed the problem into your AI application, which generates a solution, and then you have a dermatologist check that solution.
Yeah.
Did you start with this, or is this new that you just added it? What role is AI playing right now?
right now a lot of things. But when we started, it was in the most simplified form, right? All we did was we went to our dermats, Ayurveda doctors, and nutritionists, and we said, if a person going through hair loss would walk into your clinic, how would you diagnose?
Mm.
And they said, hey, we don't need to check the blood pressure or check the pulse rate. How we diagnose is by clinical history. What is going on in their life? Since when are they facing it? What else has happened in the last 6-8 months? We'll see allopathy for sure wants to take a peek at your head because the pattern
Yeah.
tells them what type of hair loss it is and what stage it is. So we will need a photograph to understand. So we said, okay, what if we don't send these? And this was during COVID when we were starting. So we were forced
Okay.
to
Work
come up with
online.
an online
Yes,
solution.
yes.
And we said, okay, we cannot get these people to your clinics. Can we do this online? And can we show, we started with a video. It eventually went to a photograph with a detailed history of how you feel, how energy, what happens when you get up. Do you feel high energy, low energy? How well do you sleep? What's your scalp like? Since when are you facing hair loss? Which stage are you? All of this history feeds into today there is an AI and it builds a regime.
Mm.
And this regime is built on now data of 10 lakh people who have used Traya.
10 lakh?
Yeah. So we've come to a point where, you know, I hate blanket promises, and that's my problem with claims. But Traya has a claim where we say 93% people saw results in 5 months, and 5 months is an average. But if you actually take a hair test at Traya, the AI will be able to predict for you how many months will it take for you to see results.
Mm.
And it's not 5 for everyone. It
Mm.
could be 8, it could be 9, it could be 4. But we can now predict what your month on month journey will look like if you get on this treatment and when will you really start seeing visible results. We can also find out people, and that's the most important part, people who we cannot grow hair. And when I say Traya can grow hair, it cannot grow hair for everyone. It's not possible.
Yeah.
There's no magic. So if we see signs of no active follicles on your head, which is either the case is extremely advanced, stage 5 or 6, or there's a certain age barrier there. If you're beyond a certain age, multiple other inputs, the website will tell you, sorry, we cannot sell it to you.
Mm.
If you still place an order, it will reach a dermatologist. No order passes through without a dermat check. The dermat has a button on the dashboard called refund and reject. Okay, so our doctors have the right to look at your history or photograph and press on refund. You'll automatically get a message that your money will be refunded, and we have decided to not go ahead with the treatment because we are not confident that we can grow your hair or help you out. So I think we could
Under what
get-
circumstances does that happen?
it happens when, let's say, you filled in details to the AI where you felt that you are stage 3, you are this, you are that. But when you actually uploaded your photograph, the doctor feels you are way advanced than the inputs that were given in. So you cross the AI level screening, but you won't cross the DOMAT level screening because the doctor will look at your photograph and the doctor will not pass through unless there's a good quality photograph there to check your head. Right? So we've kept those stringent rules to ensure that our North Star metric, which is success rate, doesn't get affected because we're getting wrong set of people into the treatment.
And what is your vision now for the next 5 odd years for Traya?
For Traya, I think we've just scratched the surface. Just 3 months ago, we did another round of consumer study, and we went out and asked people across the country, what would you do and what do you do if you face hair fall? And the answer was still 80% answer was topicals, serum or a shampoo or something cosmetic. I think if more and more people can reach doctors
Yeah.
or reach a brand like Traya, which has the treatment system defined, I think that's our objective. That's my personal objective. But for the brand, I think to help or reach a larger base of people, hoping to take this international. I think this entire philosophy of Ayurveda coming in and really changing the game in efficacy should not just be limited to India, but should go to the world, and take India to the world rather.
And I wish you very, very good luck, Saloni. Thank you so much for speaking with me. Thank you.